So last we saw Bonnie, she was making a deal with Damon to get a slow revenge on Lily.
There was a clink of a shot glass, yes.
So are we going to see them kind of planning out the revenge quickly, or is this going to be a longer storyline?
The Lily Damon storyline you'll see it evolving over the next few episodes, and you'll see Bonnie being a support system for Damon, whereas I feel like the old Bonnie would have definitely not gone along with any of his plans. I think you'll start to see Bonnie taking things into her own hands to do things to support Damon. But you won't. The Lily storyline has a way to go before it kind of reaches its kind of culmination situation. There's a really cool flashback episode for Damon coming up in the not too distant future that really is incredible. Really incredible. Some of Ian's best work ever, so I'm super excited for you guys to see that.
Our Bonnie's heavily involved in the Phoenix Stone storyline.
Yes.
And the investigation into that.
Anything that has a stone, moonstone, Phoenix stone, anything, I'm in it.
Can you give us some little hints of kind of what we're going to get to start to see as those mysteries start to unravel?
Sure. It's so interesting because we're shooting an episode. There's an episode that's airing tomorrow, and then we're talking about, I'm just trying to keep up with what you guys know. Okay, so we started off with, Alaric was the one that basically stole this Phoenix Stone from a museum and asked Bonnie what it meant, and then Bonnie realized very quickly that this was an evil stone, and she told him to get rid of it, and he's like, yeah, I totally got rid of it, didn't get rid of it, and now we're trying to get to the bottom of it and do a bit more history. It has a huge impact on this season and it's a big part of this storyline. There's a lot of mythology attached to it. There's a lot of other characters attached to it. Some that you will see, one in particular that you will see in tomorrow's episode, which is really cool.
We're caught up that Joe's back.
Oh, I wasn't talking about Joe.
Oh, okay.
You're not talking about Julian either.
I was talking about Julian.
Okay,
Yeah.
So we saw Julian
Come back.
wake up in the
Right.
end of last week.
So you'll see more of him in tomorrow's episode, which is cool, and that makes for a really amazing and interesting dynamic between him and the brothers, and how Damon feels and Stefan feels, and there's some really cool scenes that you'll see tomorrow. There's a really cool. Can I talk about a party?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we shot it here where you're sitting. This was actually turned into a very, very cool Louis Salvatore mixer. And it was great. And you'll see a lot of stuff between Enzo and Bonnie, which is super exciting because I love working with Malarkey. There's a really cool dynamic there. And then you'll see Bonnie and Matt begin to uncover something a little bit deeper, but that doesn't kind of happen until kind of the final acts. I don't know, what else? What else can I give you and not give you?
Well, when you said Bonnie and Enzo together at the party, we always think about the flash forward scenes.
Right.
Could this be the beginning of that?
I think that they're developing it very, very slowly. You'll see it kind of over the next few episodes. You'll see a lot of their dynamic together, but it's still very much, present day Bonnie and Enzo. So you see our kind of, I don't know if it's like cat and mouse or this very sparring dynamic. It's gonna take we have to still wait to see the actual turn of when that happened and what happened to put Bonnie in the place that she was at and all that, to see that version of the character, what people saw last week, and how do you get to that place.
What did you think? Sorry.
What was your impression when you got the script of the flash forward mentioning that Bonnie and Enzo were together?
The most exciting part for me was the fact that I was going to be in a psychiatric hospital. I was like, yes! Because I love Girl Interrupted, and I've talked about Helena Bonham Carter being like one of my favorites and her performance in Fight Club. And if I could have my way, the character would just be absolutely out of her mind. So, I was always excited for that as an actor to do that. And then when I saw that they were, and I know that it's a huge, the show I think became so big because it was so focused on this, love story. So there is still kind of a craving for audiences to get love and get the kind of triangles still occur in the show. I won't say that is necessarily Bonnie's journey this season. You know, Bonnie's kind of come back into the real world as a bit of a heroine in a lot of ways, and really focused on protection and focused on, you know, doing what she wants to do her way, and being this kind of and teaming up with Damon. So I don't know that love has ever been you're starting to see her make love a priority in her life. I'm talking about these kind of little moments with Caroline, and maybe I'll go on a date, and, you know, Enzo teasing about her like lackluster love life, and you see a little bit of it affecting Bonnie, but you don't really see her love life developing immediately, because that's really not her focus. She's a pretty self-sufficient girl, and that she's never been like boy crazy or always in a relationship.
For next week, can you preview in for 707 kind of what the mystery or that Matt and Bonnie are kind of going to be working and uncovering?
Well, we know now that this Phoenix stone is a stone that can bring people back from the dead, but it's not the actual souls. It's actually only vampire souls. And if you do the spell wrong, like Bonnie did, you might accidentally put someone's soul in someone else's body, and whoops, there it is. So realizing the power of this stone, the stone storyline actually grows some wings. We'll have a new character, another villain to some characters, maybe not to Bonnie, but a villain, coming in who is attached to the stone. Who uses the stone in a different way than the heretics use the stone, in a different way than the vampires use the stone, you know. So the stone's storyline is really growing rapidly. I can't really say too much, obviously. You make a discovery, and then there's also, it's not just that Bonnie made a mistake and, you know, puts the wrong spirit in the wrong body. There's actually repercussions that Bonnie wasn't expecting to happen, or wasn't ready to happen, and that she definitely didn't see coming from doing this. So we're going to see a lot of Bonnie trying to fix what she's done. But these things are, you know, over time. I mean, the next episode is pretty Bonnie and Enzo heavy, and we're trying to find... she teams up with Enzo for her own benefit in a lot of ways, but you see them a lot together in tomorrow's episode. And then after that, then it kind of the Stone storyline really starts to kind of snowball.
Do you think Bonnie's time with Damon last season kind of prepared her for being able to deal with Enzo this year?
I think Bonnie's time with Damon actually affected the character's personality in a huge way. I don't think that we're even dealing with, and even the way they're writing the character, there's a lot of Damonisms in the writing, you know, even like there's kind of that kind of flippancy and the sarcasm and the I don't know how else to put it. A lot of humor, more badassness, positions that Bonnie would have never put herself in, but Damon would have put himself in. Bonnie now puts herself in. So you see a lot of that in this year, which I'm really enjoying, because, you know, Ian and I work very similarly. So, you know, and people are actually noticing it a lot too. So I don't think it's just the time that they spent. I think it actually completely altered her character, and I think that's why they became such good friends. They just kind of started to mold into this very similar person.
How involved is she going to be with Faux Joe? As she's being called Faux Joe.
Fake
Not
Joe.
really.
Oh, Faux Joe. Well, she's definitely been involved with that storyline with Rick from the beginning, from, you know, him going to her about, you know, in the initial, like, you know, episode about the stone. They really have some amazing scenes together. I mean, Jody and Matt Davis are. I mean, I think that was the first time I actually cried while I was watching the show so far in the season. Was watching their scenes together. Absolutely spectacular. So that's, for me, I just think that you guys will really enjoy that and that kind of connection. And even though it's all kind of gets supernatural, there's an amazing human element to the stuff that they do together and their scenes together that I really feel like bring it home. Bonnie is pretty involved. I mean, if anyone's involved, it's in their situation, it would be Bonnie, yes.
So when your show started, the beginnings of social media were happening, and it's in infancy, and it's grown so much since then.
No one had a Twitter. Can I just say this?
Right, yes.
On the record, none of you, talking to my cast, had an effing Twitter. I was the first one to have a Twitter,
Yes.
and I got them all involved in the Twitter. They didn't know what the Twitter was. The person I think that was the most against it was Paul, of course. And I just want to say that I've been the pioneer for social media. Thank you. Shout out to Chris McLaughlin, who likes that. Yeah, so you can continue your question. I just
Right.
needed to say that.
Yeah. So how is being able to interact with the fans and hearing from the fans that feedback? How has that played into the show over the years?
For me, it's really important because I like to spend a lot of time with the fans. I do conventions and meet and greets. I actually have two of my peeps here today, Mary and Savannah, here that got a cool competition with Foster Grand, and they've been hanging out with me today. And I like to have as many people a part of this experience and behind the scenes and involved. And I go on on Tumblr and Twitter and Instagram, and I really pay attention. There's some really thought-provoking conversations, and even though, people can look at this as, kind of a youth show, there's a lot of really important things that, we as actors and, the writers and producers, we have to really be cognizant over and do things right and, have bigger dialogues and stuff. And I don't know that I would have those conversations with my bosses or, with the writers if I hadn't really had such a very loud and thought-provoking fan base constantly reaching out to me and talking to me and trying to what they think would be really cool for Bonnie and what they think would be cool for the show and yeah, I love them, and I think it's really important to spend time with them and respond to them.
Can you talk a little bit about what it's been like filming in Atlanta and, you guys have spent so much time.
It's been very
here
fattening. What has it been like? It's like today it's really beautiful and sunny, but it's like I'm from LA, so it's nice to have like the weather and all that. And you become like a family immediately. If we were filming in LA, we all have like our own lives and all that. But when you're in Atlanta, you're kind of forced to kind of cocoon together and do that. It also creates such a great visual aesthetic for the show. I mean, the show is supposed to be in, Mystic Falls, Virginia. There's all these trees and all this green, and literally across the street we're in the woods, and it's just so naturally Mystic Falls. It's great. I can't imagine us shooting the show everywhere. I mean, it gets a little hard when I gotta go to New York, and I gotta go to LA, and I gotta go back, and I'm all over the place. But for the visuals of the show and the production quality, I think, and really the dynamic that it's really created for us as a cast, I really can't imagine us filming anywhere else.
We have time for 2 more questions.
So last year, there was a really nice moment between the 3 ladies for the holiday episode. What are we gonna get this season?
Oh, we haven't shot. We have shot the holiday episode. Because I was wearing a Christmas hat. The Christmas episode is actually when you start to see Bonnie interacting more with the Heretics, and you start to see those storylines develop. And Bonnie had pretty much either killed Heretics or stood by Damon while he killed the Heretics, or Matt, or whoever's killing them. So I wouldn't say that she sympathizes with them, but we start to see that their storylines become intertwined, and it's very, very good. What else did we do for the holiday stuff? You see, that was actually the first real, I think the first real scene I had done with the Scarlett's character, Nora the Heretic, which is very interesting. And oh, I know what happened. There's a huge twist at the end of the holiday episode that will have to kick Bonnie into gear. And she's going to have to make a really a hard decision. I think because Bonnie had spent so much of her time alone on the other side or in 1994, that when she meets Nora, she can relate to her a bit. I'm not saying that they even end up as friends. There might be a full knockdown, drag out, witch fight, but you'll definitely see us working together, which is very fun for me because I love girl time. Bonnie would be very concerned over the well-being of her friends, and that has never changed. That hasn't changed from season 1. You know, I think that Bonnie's gotten a lot of slack about being that character that, you know, does that. I wouldn't do that, but she does it. You know what I mean? And there are very few people in the world, but there are a handful maybe, that are that way and that would do that and put themselves in harm's way in very dangerous situations for their friends because they believe they can save them. They believe they are that powerful. They're not doing it because, oh, I've got nothing else going on in my life. I think Bonnie is a bit overconfident at times. She's like, I got it, I can do it. And I think that's a huge thing that I think people need to remember, that this isn't a character that ever expects to fail.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.